Hi, so what I wanted to do here was walk through an example of taking a one-off task that you might have for Excel and then converting it into a more repeatable workflow with Claude skills and with Cowork. In my case, I've got a Python and Excel file, and let me show you here. If you've worked with this in Excel, all of the Python cells are denoted with this py function. What I was hoping to do is basically convert this into a Jupyter Notebook so that the raw data source is a CSV file, and then these turn into a Jupyter Notebook with the cells in the same order as they're shown here. And I thought it sounds like a great task for AI, and it turns out that it is, and especially if we pair this with some of Claude's features. Let's close this and start with the basics. If you were to start off doing this, you might just ask for a simple prompt here in chat. So I'm going to walk through the steps. Here's what I want. Here is what I'm giving you. I'm going to drop the workbook in here as well, and then we can run that. And I've already done this, so some of these things I won't sit you through, but you could try it out yourself. I will give you all the files, but there are some steps that are the same each time, right? We need to get the data, pull the data out from PY, pull the data source into CSV, build a Jupyter Notebook, etc. So since there are repeatable steps, but they're done with a little bit of ambiguity, this is a really good place for a skill. And what's really great with this is that you can turn a prompt that you really like into a skill pretty easily. You are going to need a paid plan for this. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so it's still working. When I'm done with this, I can ask, can you turn this into a skill? It might ask you for some extra insights as to how this will work. But what a skill file is, and let me share this with you, okay? There's a markdown file, so MD is markdown. And these are really instructions that are repeatable. So what I mean by this is that this file will be uploaded to your Claude, and anytime certain keywords are used, Claude gets a sense that this is really the steps that should be followed. This is pretty in-depth, not to get too in-depth, but basically what's happening is that everything in an Excel workbook is packaged up as an XML file. So what we can do is go into that XML file and make some conversions. So I'll give you this if you want it, but really what you probably need if you actually want to use this thing, this .skill file. What that's going to allow you to do is, let's go home here, and we're going to go to customize, okay, and they're going to go to skills here, and with skills, you'll see that we can create a skill, we can upload a skill, and that's that skill file that I was showing you. So mine is right here. Where things get really interesting is, let's go back to the slides. You don't need to, when you write any of your instructions, your prompts, specify the skill explicitly. It will have enough context to bring that in right when it senses that context is there. So we talked about that. Where things get really interesting is when you actually pair this with Cowork, because rather than having to upload your files, let's go ahead and create a new task here in Cowork. What we're going to be able to do here is work in a specific folder. So for example, if I wanted to go, and you can try this out on your own, okay, I will work in this folder. And what we can do here is ask specifically convert workbook.xlsx into a Jupyter Notebook. And we'll run this. And what we'll see eventually is that the pi conversion skill will get called in. It's right there. That will keep running, but the ultimate result here is going to be something like this. Our workbook is loaded in as a CSV file. All of these cells have been converted into a notebook. So pretty useful stuff here. And again, when you have something that's structured but not totally the same every time, there's a little bit of ambiguity. Claude does have to reason about each case, and there's some give and take. This is a great example of that. And this could be things like if you need to normalize codes, if you need to maybe flag unusual amounts, identify variances that are material. What is that, right? What is the commentary that you need? Things like that. So there are rules, but there's some judgment call and some context about how it works. All different ways that you could use something like this. So I hope that's useful. Again, get the chat open, get it working, turn it into a skill, and then you can scale it up with Cowork.